Hey YouTube, welcome to the channel. And today we're going to be reacting to Tariq destroys Myron's Christmas in one move. This is going to be one of the first reaction video that I do on this channel. I'm going to do them more and more because I realize that it's nice to have conversation about topics. And hey, if you guys mess with my opinion, leave it in the comments. If you guys don't mess with my opinion, leave it in the comments. This is an open space where we can speak our minds and just be a tribe together. All right. So let's get into the video.
I was here celebrating my Christmas in Uganda, about to look at some Christmas clapping, when all of a sudden I got this. There's a video from Tariq Nasheed, and the title of the video is called, "Why Are Conservatives Turning on Myron Gaines?" Now, Tariq Nasheed and Myron Gaines are definitely not new to each other, and they don't get along. So whenever Tariq decides to speak on Myron, I gotta be interested in the content because it's Christmas season and I gotta cash out. Woo! So,
alt-right, they'll tolerate edginess only when it advances power.
Yeah.
Now, Myron, because he's so desperate at this point, he's crossing the line from provocative to being just radioactive. And, once the donors and platforms and the alliances are threatened, the movements, they don't defend you, they'll start discarding you. So he's just...
Absolutely. One thing that we need to understand when it comes to the racist far right, whatever you would call them, one thing we must remember about them is that besides being racist, besides having a certain belief, evil belief, besides them being these type of people, they're also businessmen. Remember, Myron, that's one thing he forgot. He just saw soldiers, maybe, I don't know what he saw, but he must remember all of these people are businessmen, most of them. And if you come against their money, that's even worse than being black, I'd say. Stealing their money, stealing their resources for them, that is almost like an unforgivable sin, right? So they will definitely not want to support you when you're going against the cash flow. They don't care what we're talking about. It has to work business wise, and it has to work in the ways to push the agenda. So Myron, I mean, you shouldn't be surprised by this. If you move to the enemy side and then are jailed a month later, why are you surprised? Right? If the enemy shuns you, banishes you a month later, when you move to their kingdom, why are you surprised? Right?
doing too much because, that alt-right type, they don't really like Muslims and Islam, and he's a Muslim. So he has to just go extra hard doing this real over-the-top provocative nonsense. He went to I think it was at the Turning Points USA event. He had on a shirt that was had like some Holocaust mockery stuff on it. So at this point, that's a line even the alt-right, they don't want to cross that line at this point.
Oh.
So he says something that's pretty interesting. They, meaning the alt-right or alt-right adjacent people, and that is those who are even on the side of Israel. The ones who are a little bit more radical, or actually a lot more radical, are the anti-Israel camps, the Groypers. Some people that are more kind of balanced, or like the Candace Owens, but you have them on both sides. Those who support Jews, those who don't, and a lot of the alt-right, which is becoming very, very popular right now, and that's what Myron is doing. A lot of these people have been demonetized. A lot of these folks have lost their channels. And Myron was one of those guys who, obviously, if he would have stuck to dating, it would have still been bad. But once he started crossing over into the politics and white racism and Nick Fuentes, he lost everything. And to a point, he was important for them to have. He had a huge platform. He introduced, Andrew Tate to a larger audience. He introduced
I got you. My bad.
Nick Fuentes to a larger audience. And that really helped Nick Fuentes build his career up. Unfortunately, once Nick Fuentes built his career up, he forgot all about Myron. Damn! But Myron is also very risky. He does stupid things that don't make a lot of sense, bringing attention to him, which a lot of people on the alt-right don't want, because obviously they're now becoming mainstream, and Myron is making things tough for them because of, the stuff he's been doing. But
reality changed the rules. See, after October 7th and that global spike of anti-Semitism, many conservatives, they became hypersensitive. So now Myron is a sacrificial lamb to these people. They're like, we're alt-right, but we ain't that kind of alt-right. And the right, they're purging a lot of their uncontrolled extremes. So they're being strategic. So Myron represents uncontrolled
their experiments, the different experiments.
Optics. Just random outbursts, zero discipline, just desperate for visibility and approval. And people are, they're like, okay, we don't really need Myron.
Now, again, this is in response to what happened at Turning Point USA, where he's talking about Myron was, it was very difficult for him to get in. But what he's saying that Myron is becoming a sacrificial lamb. And the right is purging their uncontrolled extremes. They're trying to control their optics. Those people have random outbursts, zero discipline, and they're desperate and need approval. And they don't need these blacks anymore. And this is interesting because Tariq Nasheed is going someplace here. Because how else do we know it? Well, just recently, I found out that it wasn't just Myron that had an issue with Turning Point USA. It was also this guy.
Also fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that fresh? Oh, it's
Cool.
fresh.
But did it say what I did or something? Or?
No, I got nothing.
Fresh.
Damn.
You're fresh.
All right.
Well, can you tell?
You guys,
Apparently
you
I don't
too.
know why.
Yes, that's
But
got
yeah,
his name there. I think.
that's crazy, right?
Oh
What
no.
did I do?
What the heck?
Nothing.
What did I do, bro?
You got your names. They have your social medias and everything.
Now, that is Fresh getting kicked out. And if you guys don't know, Fresh is a big-time friend to Jews. Amfest, which is, owned by Turning Point USA, really backed by Jewish donorship, Fresh has went out of his way to show his support for the Jewish community. He's like, look, that's Myron. But as you can see, because of Myron's hate speech, if you see the things that Fresh is saying about women in general, they don't really care about what he says about black people, but he says controversial things. They still don't want him there, even though he's a supporter. It's interesting because Fresh actually complained about getting kicked out. He says, I was invited as a VIP for the first time during Amfest, and I spent about 10 minutes there. I was instructed to leave by the police and security. I have to ask, is this how racism feels? There is no justification or explanation.
Sorry, my cat's tripping.
So not only is Myron getting it, but his buddy Walter is getting it.
Give me a second, y'all.
Opened up the door for people on the alt-right. And again, I'm going to call and consider Charlie Kirk a part of the alt-right. He's close to it, okay? But they don't even want Fresh there.
Wow.
And then it's a bigger situation than just bootlicking for white people.
Yeah.
It's a situation that I feel affects not only the guys who you may consider to be tethers or non-black American, it affects black people as a whole. And I want you to stick with me because I'm going to explain it.
And it's crazy. They started out being a normal self-improvement channel and essentially have become partners to racists. And, it's really messed up because I'm a coach. I coach as well in real life. Now, not only in this online, but I coach in real life, IRL. And I could never imagine myself turning racist. Unfortunately, now people are putting self improvement. They're putting the whole space next to these races, and it's very, very, very annoying because essentially we're just personal trainers and health coaches, right? Some nutritionists maybe that are now in the same rankage or same boat as these white supremacists, and it's people like Myron. It's Myron's fault because you started out as a self improvement coach, and now you've become sort of like a political speaker, which I don't know how that happened. You should have stayed in fitness. Of course, after them they did after that they did the reaction video on you, making fun of your fitness knowledge and your workouts, which were honestly, as a personal trainer, were kind of like, I mean, for someone who calls himself fresh and fit, I was expecting some hardcore workouts. This looks very cool boy. You weren't going hard at all, and you're a guy with amazing genetics, honestly, beard, everything genetics. So look, I get it. You don't have to look like Ronnie Coleman, but look, you should have sticked. You should have just remained at the skills of self-improvement instead of coming towards this side. It does nothing for you to continue to involve yourself with these people.
I came across a video of a very talented TikToker that was talking about black businesses and the problem that black businesses have with our clientele. And that as soon as black businesses cater towards the black community, they immediately want to tax an additional 15% on the customers. Now, if you guys live in black cities or with, black populations in the 20-25 percentiles, your Dallases, your Detroits, you will experience that. You will experience, overtaxing for food or service. And a lot of times that service is not good. And she really took it to another level with this.
How we are, black community, we're literally taxing our clientele when we start these businesses and marketing to our community. And the reason why, because these business owners, they have the same mindset as Gucci in them. The money that we put into America's economy, the trillions of dollars, literally could fund a country. I want to say, they say we would be 15th in the nation when it comes to the black dollar and what it is that we give to the American economy. And so when these businesses are intentionally marketing, including black businesses, to black people, that's what they're counting on, without giving back to the community. Where do you see these people partnering with community organizations that, for instance, Kitchen and Cocktails? They're a food industry, food and beverage. Wouldn't you think they would be partnering with a black-led grassroots nonprofit organization that feeds our community? If you want to tax people at the door, then make sure that that tax is going someplace to where it's funding the same community that you're profiting off of. But that sounds too much like community development. That sounds too much like community building.
Now, listen to what she's talking about, because I'm going to tie this back to Myron, a lot of other blacks, even black Americans. You see, when Fresh and Fit started, they were two black immigrants, one Caribbean, one African immigrant. They were helped out a lot by, I would say, three people. Donovan Sharp, most importantly, in my honest opinion, the connection was Solo TV 84. And then they got a boost from Kevin Samuels. Three people who are black Americans. Once they brought this podcast out, they had the brothers from Miami, the Caribbean brothers, bringing people into the show. And what they had was they built their own pipeline. And this is something that blacks had, was they built their own pipeline. And this is something that blacks historically, and even immigrants are good at, but black Americans are very, very good at, especially your Chitlin Circuit ideology back in the day, that framework. And a lot of black businesses, especially in the 60s and 50s, and even circa, 1970s, 80s in the black community, we ran through these pipelines, especially in the church. People went and got their hair done by somebody in the church. Mechanics ran through the church. So those pipelines became very big for black economies. And so the same thing came into social media. And so they had a pipeline not only established online, but in person. People recruiting people to come to the show, and they became successful. They had something that the alt-right did not have, and they had their own cash machine. They printed their own cash machine. And a lot of times when you see successful black businesses, whether they're immigrant-owned or black American-owned, the Turkey Leg Hut, let's say, for example, in Houston, Texas, also built their own pipeline. However, because of self-hatred, I have seen so many blacks that have really good businesses, really good opportunities, your own pipelines set up, okay? And this is not just black Americans. I've seen Africans do this. Because they want to be accepted by white people more. They will throw all of that away. Now, the reality is that when you have your own pipeline set up, the whites want to deal with you. Let me give you an example. Ebony Magazine started November the 1st, 1945. By the mid-50s, it was evident that Ebony was reaching, number one, a new black middle class. Ebony was reaching readers that white businesses could not reach. Ebony had established their own pipeline, along with other newspapers and outlets such as the Chicago Defender and the like. What these businesses started...
And, I'll go as far as to say, like, when you put into perspective, this pipeline exists everywhere. Even when you look at, there's 4 content creators who are actually in the red pill space, like Myron, but they're the ones who, these 4 guys got me the name, or 3 guys got me the name, I think I'll name the 4. And these 4 guys did it right. See, if Myron was going to do the self-improvement, helping men route, he should have done it like they did. They did it very... See, they were still speaking their word, their piece, and they still speak their piece. But these 4 do it in a way that is not going to get the channels removed. They're not going to be racist. They stick to actually help. I think the only issue here is select few in the male self-improvement space. It's only a select few that are a problem. The rest are just normal black men. Look, I won't even get to the white self-improvement guys. Let's talk about the black ones. And the black ones that I'm going to name have done it right. They're controversial as well. They're very controversial as well. But those guys, I think they kept it within the boundaries of what YouTube will allow, and also respect. They're not pushing hate. They're just speaking their mind. And some of you guys may not like them because of the advice they've given, but they still stay within the lines of not being offensive, not being racist. And I think one that I am fond of and that I like very much is Cry. But if you move on to and that's more of a new content creator, but let's talk about Steph is Cold. Let's talk about who else is Steph is Cold. Even the MJ get right. I mean, at one point they used to call themselves the Red Pill Avengers, and even calling yourself a Red Pill Avenger, it can be very cringe. It is cringe, and I wouldn't do it. I would not call myself a Red Pill Avenger. And I'm pretty sure they're cringing of it now. When they probably looking back on it, they're like, yeah, why did we do such a cringe-worthy thing? But even that was not even as bad compared to what we're seeing right now with Myron. Even that's just okay. They're red pill guys. They believe in strongly and wholly. Pretty much the basis of that red pill community is that they believe in hypergamy. Wholeheartedly, they believe in hypergamy. They believe that all women are hypergamous, and there's no way around it. You gotta level up. You gotta look max into the best of your abilities. To the best of your abilities. Like that, and not the clavicular, clavicular type, where he's busting his face, killing people, and thinking no, just self improve, like healthy self improvement, like skin. The dude say, yo, Teach Hadley, da, 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 da. Like even just pushing Teach Hadley, it's a good product. Many millions of people have used it and have results from it. Teach Hadley is backed up by by proof, evidence that it works, right? Many people have used it. And if not, use your own skincare routine, do your research. Like when it's just guys telling other guys, like, do a skincare routine, get in a gym, take care of your mental health, get a job, do this, do that. These are good. At that place, I think that was the not righteous, I won't say righteous, but just the more sound version of the male self improvement space, which still exists, but now exists at fringes like this. And I don't consider these men self improvement anymore. You can't self improve if you put hate in your heart. See, one of the and I'll end it with this because I'm yapping. But one of the things about self improvement is that you gotta improve your heart. So if you become hateful and you start to hate yourself, you're not self improving. That's your look. I will guarantee you that Myron's mental health is probably dog water. Let's be honest here.
To understand jewelry companies, consumer goods, that if we just advertised in Ebony, because Ebony has the trust of their readers, these people will buy. Okay? And that's exactly what happened. The Ebony pipeline made a lot of white companies rich because the return on investment investing in Ebony may have been better than investing in the time because they had reached a pipeline that was not established. Black people, because of self-hatred, in today's time, we look at that pipeline as worthless if it's not even white. It doesn't matter that we have black customers. It doesn't matter that we have $500,000 a month, $1 million a month, and we have our own independence. We would rather be accepted, some of us, by the whites. And so what you see happening with my...
Not me, I am not in this paradigm. Maybe because I live in Canada, but I'm not in this paradigm. I'm not with that in the sense that I don't have to deal with that, worry about that. Yeah, so
Myron and Walter Gaines is the whites wanted access to them when they had a new pipeline of black listeners, young callers.
Wait,
they had and Walter by the whites. And so what you said is, we would rather be accepted, some of us, by Gaines, black listeners, young callers, and all of that.
I think here,
they were valuable then.
Where I live, it's very...
Tired of generic ChatGPT responses and spending hours on writing? Here's the smarter way to get better results. Ventrilo is an AI.
However, the problem is now is that...
where we live, here in Canada, it happens as well, but I think we have just a tad bit more... I think because the immigration here is strong. Like, people keep their roots here. Like, they stay speaking their languages, African language. Like, we have Africans here, so proud Africans up here. The States too. You guys have your Nigeria, but no, here it's the population of immigrants is a lot higher, right? And well, I would say black immigrants is a lot higher, right? Because down in the States it's more Latino immigrants. You get the Haitians too, but here in Canada, we have proud Haitians and we have proud Africans. So what happens is that we are not looking for, any type of validation from whites for the most part. I can't speak for all Black Canadians, but here we are very proud of our culture, especially the Africans. Man, they're operating the way they want, and of course, there's ways they're changing in ways to adapt to the culture in Canada. But for the most part, they're keeping complete autonomy of their culture. They're not catering to any whites. It happens, but we have some proud Africans here. But here, these guys, yeah, this is different. It's different, especially in Miami.
They have allowed Nick Fuentes and other folks to come onto their platform.
I remember a movie called Dreamgirls, and when they end up going to Miami, and I was like in the 40s, yeah, whatever. So they end up going, I don't know if it was in the 40s to 60s, but they end up going to Florida, Miami, and I remember how the tensions were so high with the girls, and the whole band was like, whoa, we're going to one of the states that are literally all white, So you have to understand Florida's history is not, yes, they have immigrants, and they've had people come in and populate their state with immigrants. But if you look at their history, man, this has been a white-driven state. So the state they're in, it definitely is a state, the whites in Florida, they could feel like the blacks and the Latinos have literally taken over their state, and they could hate y'all for that. You have the Donald Trumps that were in Florida. Just many people who push that agenda.
And now Nick Fuentes is actually more important and popular than Fresh and Fit. And so now they don't need them anymore, okay? But if they would have stuck with their pipeline development and would have went away from the white supremacist talking points, they would even be more valuable because they could challenge them, all right? And this is the reality that blacks don't want to face, is that we are really ashamed of the black dollar. Noise. We have so many talented blacks that make this mistake every day. I'll give you an example just on YouTube because we all know him. Tommy Sotomayor is an example. He literally threw all of his opportunity away, which was unlimited in Black America and Black social media, to basically be just a BS contributor for Fox, in which he had no leverage with them. And so the reason why you see these dudes start simping and wanting to go to the alt-right and being mistreated over there, being called the N-word there, and the reason why you see these guys being called the N-word and being disrespected is they stopped doing the right thing, which was building up their pipelines, building up their community. This is why Earn Your Leisure, despite having some of the issues they have, they're still so relevant. They have built their own ecosystem. The same thing can be said for the origins of Essence Fest, okay? Things like that. But you do get those blacks who don't want the black dollar. They don't care, even if the black dollar made them rich.
Hey, for me, oh yes, and definitely I'm married to a woman who is all about the black dollar. So, and I'm also about the black dollar, and I think that it's only right to help black businesses. So not wanting or not feeling like you don't need the black dollar. Bro, when you buy from one of the black, it just edifies you. It just, as a community, if we edify each other, it's just going to be better for us, right? So me not wanting the black dollar is, him not wanting the black dollar is crazy, diabolic.
It doesn't matter. Like, I've seen people, for an example, like, you would tell them, man, would you go and move to another city if it paid you $250,000 a year? They'll be like, hell no. It got to be Oakland. It got to be Atlanta. It got to be LA. It got to be New York City. You got some people like that. They would rather stay in New York City and make $60,000 a year and suffer than to go and, let's say, live in Montana and make $250,000 a year. They would rather do that. You can't explain it, but they would, even if their quality of life would be better.
Yeah.
And we got to start acting like we don't have blacks who do not exude this. And this is something that we have been taught, and we got to get over this. For example, my mom, she used to always tell me, I grew up in Del Paso Heights. She said, if you leave here, you must leave here. Go get an opportunity, right? You need to go get a job, middle class, upper middle class, white America, find a wife, get married, and never come back here. Okay? That was my thought. I'm pretty sure if you're from my generation, you're told the same thing. Well, what happens? Well, you don't become the market maker in the black community. Somebody else becomes the market maker. The Indians come in and set up their own shops. Your neighborhoods get redeveloped, gentrified, and then the gas stations no longer belong to you, and they belong to somebody else. So then what it does, it makes you cover territory. And so now you're looking for opportunity from somebody else. And the reality is that when you had a chance to buy the house across the street for $25,000 in the black community, you was like, I hate Del Paso Heights. I don't want to do it. This is a true story. I had a chance to do that. And that house now is worth $360,000 now. And I'm looking stupid. Damn. This is a true story. We had the opportunity to buy the house next door and across the street. And both of those houses rent right now, it's maybe like $2,000 a month. And that could have been a liquid asset for us. But we were not thinking like that, right? Because we looked at where we were at and we didn't have the idea of where it was going, where the black community was going. What opportunities come in, ask for, happens all the time. Scammers in our community, because your black pipelines, they don't have use your.
Yeah, that's it. So we're going to end it up. So I'm just going to give my final thoughts on this. And I think that we have to understand that. I think we have to understand that in life, man, you can't be too extreme. When we talk about extremists, we're talking about people like the KKK. We're talking about all these different people, like the different Nazi groups and cults and whatnot. And I don't know why you got hate in your heart. Honestly, it's all about hate in your heart. You go and you enslave our people. You bring them back to your country. To again, your ancestors brings them back to your country. Like, you're so mad at blacks for being in America, but your ancestors are the one who brought us here first. You can't acknowledge that, right? Enslaved us, took us from and I can't complain because everyone has the life they live. Most people wouldn't even be alive if that happened, but who knows? That probably shouldn't have happened. And if it did, we should be getting the reparations, right? But you take a people from their homeland, you chain them up, enslave them, kill them, hang them, and then complain about it. There's hate in their hearts, a lot of hate in their hearts. And I don't know why. They gotta let the hate go. They have to let the hate go. They have to let the hate go. And Myron, you are hating yourself. You're a black Sudanese, man. There's no reason why you gotta hate yourself. This started out as self-improvement. Now it's become this monster that you've created. Why? What do you gain from this? Alright? So yeah, guys. Anyone who has anything to say about this matter, just leave your thoughts in the comments. Share your thoughts on the matter. Has Myron completely lost his mind, or he's just doing what he wants to do? Just leave your opinions in the comments. Do you have a black business and do you feel like you're struggling? You can leave that in the comments as well. For everyone that got this far into the video, I would like to thank you. Love y'all. Remember to like and subscribe for more content like this. Peace.